gonna try and show you what I used to sound like interacting with people. So I used to suffer social anxiety, and uh, sometimes I would stutter, and my armpits would get sweaty. I would get sweaty, and I just say a lot of times. Can't formulate proper sentences, can't think of what to say. So that means I was socially impaired. I couldn't really have conversations with people, or if I did, they're really simple, like how was your day? How are you? Uh, uh, I couldn't keep I couldn't keep eye contact. So usually what I do is I look at them, and then I feel that boom 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 in my chest, and then I look away. It used to be so bad that I would look away all the time. Now, and in front of hot girls, it's impossible. Like, I would try to talk to them, but then I would just... Social anxiety is such a different beast and monster from depression and suicidal thoughts. And most of my depression wasn't that related to social anxiety, apart from maybe I can't make friends anymore. I don't know, but that's a tiny part of my depression. But social anxiety is not something that's less than depression or less difficult. Social anxiety for me wasn't just being afraid of speaking in front of others in public, or that sort of social situation based anxiety. I was really afraid of people. I had some sort of anthropophobia. I think I'm pronouncing it anthropophobia, which is the literal fear of just people, not just of anyone. And I used to be afraid of every single person I met. One of the ways you can beat social anxiety, if you're not suicidal or you don't have depression, is not thinking about anything. So don't think about the future. I know I said that you would have this bodily reaction when you see a person. What I'm trying to say is don't continue the thoughts that will come after meeting that person, or from the anxiety that you feel. Just let that pass. Give it a few minutes. It won't pass completely, but if you're very persistent on not thinking about the future, or not thinking about how you're gonna fuck up with this person, how you're gonna say the wrong things, or whether or not this person is gonna be mean to you or whatever. Even if this person has been mean to you in the past, right? If you persistently think about other things, other meaningless things, like what you ate for breakfast, I don't know, or oh, that episode from Lost, like, wow, that was so good, right? If you just keep thinking about these other things, then that anxiety, that initial anxiety, even though it's very, very uncomfortable, you can actually keep it there. You can keep the anxiety at a level at which you remain functional, if that makes sense. So you can still talk to people, or try, and you look nervous. Your eyes will flutter around. And if you're at work, I don't know, you can try and make friends, even though you're still nervous, as long as you can talk to people, right? I mean, that's how you make friends, is communication. If you're socially anxious and you don't say anything, it's very hard to make friends with anyone then. But with this technique, where you just, with your willpower, you don't think about anything, then you can be functional. I'm trying to give you a no bullshit answer, like, you gotta breathe, like that. Have you ever heard that advice? Breathe more. What the fuck are you smoking? Like, breathing doesn't help with anxiety at all. It may help with panic attacks. Actually, it really does help with panic attacks. But for anxiety, it really does not do shit for anxiety. It allows you to get more oxygen in, so you can stop having to sit down all the time. It gives you energy, but it does not get rid of anxiety. I know the whole theory around the parasympathetic nervous system and how, it forces your body to go into that relaxed state. And I have no fucking idea how it actually works for others, because I have tried it for the past 7 years and it has never worked for me. No matter how methodical I try to make my breathing, and all it does is make me more self-conscious about my breathing, which makes it harder to breathe because I have to think about breathing. You know, if you're not getting enough oxygen, and your body will breathe, you know, it's just very uncomfortable. But if you force yourself to breathe, in my opinion, it gets even more uncomfortable because you have to think about it. So those kinds of advices have never worked for me, and I always thought, man, why are they telling people this? Like, this is not helping anyone. And if it does help you, and maybe I'm the anomaly, then continue breathing. I can tell you some things you can do to sort of start your recovery from anxiety, social anxiety. And the first thing is eye contact. So you have to look at people. I know if it's really uncomfortable, it's really hard, but you gotta look at people. You gotta look at people's eyes. You gotta look into their eyes, and not just glance every few seconds to make sure that they know you're listening. That's what I did. Was like I would quickly glance at their eyes just to make sure they know that I'm listening. I learned that if you actually force yourself to look into their eyes for more than 5 seconds and then look away, you can build that up to 10 seconds every time and 15 seconds. And what you want to do is you want to get to a point where you can look into their eyes and then look away naturally. The way normal, quote unquote, normal people do, where they stare into someone's eyes when they're talking, and then when they're done talking, and when you're starting to talk, you look away. Or you look away, then you look back. The problem with this is you won't see results. Sorry, but you will not see results for quite some time. For me, it took about 2 years. If you're someone like me who used to be anthropophobic and afraid of every single person in their life, even their parents, even people they consider their friends, because I used to be anxious around my friends too, because I felt like if I said the wrong thing, I would lose them. Best friends was even worse, because I felt like if I lose them, I don't have a best friend. That's fucked up. So I was really anxious. For people like that, I would think that it would take a long time. I'm not gonna give you bullshit. It will take a long time. Another thing that's very important is being comfortable with yourself. So if you feel like you're ugly, which a lot of depressed people feel, is that they're very, very hideous, They have body dysmorphia. They just think they're ugly. The problem with that is that if you think you're ugly, you're going to get more anxious around people, because you'll think that people are thinking that you're ugly. Because if you think you're ugly, why not other people? Even though we all look the same, to an alien, every human looks the same. I mean, we have different colored skin. Some of us have different shaped bodies, but it's like looking at a pack of, I don't know, Dalmatians. You're gonna think they all look the same. You're gonna think the babies look the same. You think the adults look the same. The male and females look the same, and that's exactly what aliens would think of us. But there are some cases where there is something that you can do about something about your body that you feel very anxious about. Not something that's unchangeable, something that is changeable and something that's easy to change. And the reason why you haven't done it is because you're depressed and you're too lazy because you're too depressed. So my advice is, if you want to feel less anxious around people, to change those changeable things, the small things. It's going to make you more insecure, but it's going to make you more insecure, and it's also going to decrease your anxiety at the same time. So it's a win-loss, but if you want to feel less anxious, then you're going to have to take away one of the things that makes you anxious in the first place. For me, when I had a really bad haircut, for example, in the past, then I would get very anxious around people, more than normal. And when I finally got a better haircut, one that I thought was better, I felt less anxious. I still felt anxious, but I felt less anxious, and that was more of a relief to me. So that's my advice: is if you can find ways to make your anxiety more manageable, then I would suggest to do it. To if you're depressed, then I would suggest to use every bit of your willpower and energy to get rid of those things that makes you anxious, such as the things that you can change about your body and your face and whatever, your clothes. Of course, the downside of this is the whole argument about you have to be who you are and you have to be unique and you can't let other people change you, which I agree. But if it's a small enough thing, if it's something that doesn't even mean anything to you, then maybe you should consider it. That's all I'm saying. But it's a whole debate that you can have with yourself. And I did too. And there are some things that I could change about myself that I don't wanna, because it's part of who I am. And even if it makes me less anxious, I don't care, because I can't lose that part of me. I can't lose my dignity. Building your self-esteem can help you lessen social anxiety. So if you have some sort of art or craft or hobby, I would suggest trying to get really good at it or better at it, so that you have more self-esteem. I know that sounds sort of like, well, duh, but if you have that as a focus, like, oh, if I get good at this thing that I love doing, in order to decrease my social anxiety, then maybe that will motivate you more. I don't know. It motivated me. So ways to boost your self-esteem is important. It's all a journey. And it's not a fairy tale with a happy ending kind of journey. It's a, why the fuck did this happen to me? This is horrible. I wouldn't wish this upon my worst enemies kind of journey. And it takes years. And I just wish someone would make it more serious, because people don't give a fuck about social anxiety. People don't give a fuck about people who have social anxiety. They just brush it off as people who are shy. Depression gets all the attention, but most depressed people have a combination of depression and anxiety. The numbers are really high. The percentage is really high. Because the problem with depression is it makes you weird. And when depression makes you weird, it makes other people treat you differently, which causes social anxiety sometimes. Or depression makes you think about horrible things, which makes you scared, which causes general anxiety or panic attack disorders. Or not. But I'm just saying depression gets all the attention and social anxiety doesn't. I mean, people have talked about anxiety, people have talked about panic attacks, but I feel like people haven't really talked about the fear of other people as much. What I'm just saying is I wish someone on YouTube told me, hey, what you're going through is fucked up. It's bad. It's severe. I wish someone would validate my pain, but no one did. Everyone treated it like it was, oh, you're just shy. You're just introverted. You'll get over it. It's like, fuck you. This shit is hard. I've been dealing with it for years. Why won't you take it seriously? I feel kind of worthless now. Like I'm some weak piece of shit. And I've dealt with suicidal thoughts, and I can tell you social anxiety is not as bad, but it's pretty high up there in terms of shit that I have to deal with. So I really hope this video makes someone feel less alone, and it validates their pain, but also helps give them tools and to know what to do when they're anxious, and to help alleviate their symptoms. This is Daniel, and have a good life.